Welcome back to Gaelic Games Fan TV. It is the preview show for this weekend's Provincial football finals. We're going to be taking a look at both games in depth, Louth versus Meath, and of course Armagh versus Donegal. The last of the two Provincial finals taking place this weekend. And the anticipation is definitely through the roof when it comes to a Leinster final. The most anticipated Leinster final since 2010. I would argue that this Leinster final feels even morely anticipated just because of what happened in 2010. And then you have the Ulster final, which you feel like is always almost like the showpiece provincial final. It's always the one that everyone has been speaking about over the last couple of years. So two cracking provincial finals to preview and predict for this weekend. Joined by Seamus Brady from Monclea to run through both of the games in detail. Seamus, how's life? How's things? And I suppose as a fellow Dublin fan, a little bit strange. Leinster final weekend and no Dubs involved.
Yeah, no Dubs involved, man. Looking forward to jumping in and previewing this. Thanks for having me back on. Must be a bit of a contradiction for yourself. Liverpool winning the league and Dublin not even making it to a Leinster final. Must be kind of mixed emotions. Yeah, Louth and Meath being in the Leinster final is almost. I seen Matthew's tweet there, where he was, putting all the things kind of similarly to to 2010, and obviously 2010 finished up with Cork winning the All-Ireland Football Championship, and then he says like the last one could be the omen for Cork to go and do it again. But yeah, it is kind of a bit of beautiful poetry that it's Meath and Louth that have ended up in this Leinster final again in 2025. Meath take out Dublin and Louth are waiting for them in the final, and what an achievement it would be for the wee county to get over the line. In the other provincial final that we're going to be previewing, Armagh versus Donegal. I mean, I was chatting about this on the JMac podcast on Monday. That's out now. I actually really enjoyed that episode as well. John knows the stuff, especially for the Ulster final. Spoke very, very well about how they're actually switching the game now. It's going to be Saturday evening rather than Sunday during the day, which isn't going down too well up the north. But it's going to be so. And like if you watch that pod back, me and him just go back and forth on Armagh and Donegal. Like neither of us can make up our minds. To be honest, I still can't really make up my mind. So hopefully by the end of this chat, I'll have come to a solid decision on who I think is going to win.
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's going to be, like both games. I think and it is mad. Usually the Leinster final, it's it's all right. Dublin are going to win this, blah blah blah, and for years you were trying to think of scenarios. Oh, maybe they won't win, and blah blah blah, and here we are, and they're just not here. It's incredible, really. And Jamie says, "Come on, the Royals County." The Meath fans will be out in full force. Gavin says, "Remember your documentary about the state of the Leinster Championship in your 2010 video? Who would have thought we'd see this day? A Louth Meath rematch." Incredible, really. And I'm definitely going to give them, some of them clips maybe a bit of a push over the next few days and kind of recycle them out there.
The iron's hot now, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Like given what's happened, and even making that video, I was thinking, maybe in 5 or 6 years, maybe Dublin might get better. And obviously, look, as Dublin fans, we don't want us to lose, but you were thinking, look, it's probably going to happen someday, and if it does, it probably will be for the betterment of the Leinster Championship. But absolutely crazy. And to think as well, there's rumored about 60,000 people going to be in Croke Park this weekend. I mean, that's insane. Like I'm going to be there as well. Absolutely not gonna miss this. And this is about the closest thing I've got to a Louth jersey. It's a Malta jersey that I got on holiday.
The Liverpool one, though?
No, it's actually Malta.
Okay.
It's kind of, red and white, kind of Louth colours there.
Just put a jacket over the edge there.
We'll ignore the kind of Meath jersey, actually. Meath club jersey that we have in the background there. Usually my head blocks that out.
I always did wonder about the Ballybowden one as well. Do you have family in Bowden or something? Because I know you didn't play for Bowden.
No, it's actually, so those three jerseys there, the Ballybowden jersey, I don't know what way I'm going here now. The Meath club jersey, which is Millmore Gales, and then this Dublin jersey I just did a promotion for KC Sports one year, and then they sent these jerseys out. And I was like, I'm probably not going to wear the Ballybowden or the Meath club jersey. So we might as well just hang them up on the wall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it's a nice bit of decor in behind. I remember last year when I was stationed permanently in Dublin, I had the studio in my room. Sorry, in my house. I had the four photos up of the All Ireland winners, the Cork Camogie team, the Dublin LGFA and men's Gaelic football team, and then the Limerick Hurlers. I had them up behind me on the wall. But this year, I have literally, as I've told you, I've been bouncing from Galway to Dublin to Limerick to anywhere that there's a game on. I've been down here. So yeah, I've been on the move a lot more this year, but I can't wait to be a little bit more stationed up and have a studio and everything like that. But yeah, it's going to be a good one. And you're talking there 60,000 going to a Leinster final, like just
Mm.
shows the intrigue. Once it's a 50-50 game, once there's a bit of jeopardy entered into the mix, and once you don't know what the result is going to be, it does increase the appetite. And all of a sudden, Louth will be travelling a lot more to a Leinster final, expecting that this could be their day. And Meath, after beating Dublin, will be expecting that this is their day. And it relates a lot back to what I was saying before the All Ireland final between Armagh and Galway last year, is that this feels different to your typical Leinster final, because it
Mm.
feels like there's a lot more on the line for both Meath and Louth. Like Meath, while they were excellent on the day, they did catch Dublin on the hop. Like there's no question about it. Dublin were not at their best. Maybe next year Brian Fenton comes back. Maybe next year Dublin are a lot more back to their full strength, and Dublin now have a bone to pick with the Leinster Championship. They have a point to prove at the Leinster Championship. So maybe Dublin come back better than ever next year. We just don't know right now. So for Louth and Meath, you have to seize the opportunities you have in front of you right now. And
Mm.
that's why this Leinster final is going to be a cracker, especially with the new rules. It's going to be heart stopping stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Brian says here it's very strange not being able to attend the Leinster final. Have gotten used to attending, and there's around 50,000 expected, and will surpass the 48,000 for 2010. Forecast is set to be very good as well. Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be incredible. In fairness, and Brian also says Galway Dublin confirmed for 5 p.m. on Saturday, 17th of May. We pair of a double header with Galway Antrim, which will throw in at 1:30 p.m. Yeah, absolutely. Both of those games are set to be very exciting indeed, especially the Dublin Galway game. But yeah, look, in terms of a preview, look, we'll start with Meath versus Louth. We were kind of getting into it there already. Massive game, obviously, for both of these two. Meath looking to win their first Leinster title since 2010. Louth looking to win their first Leinster title in what, 60, 70 years?
1957.
1957. I mean, like, Louth winning Leinster, it's basically like Mayo winning the All Ireland, isn't it? I mean, do you know what I mean? Like, it would be absolutely incredible to see it. But to be fair, like, it's going to be an absolutely cracking game. And when you look at how well Meath played versus Dublin, like the way they just blew Dublin away, like they just
Yeah.
absolutely put them to the sword. Like they won by 4 points, but like in all honesty, I think the result flattered Dublin more than you know what I mean. Like I think Meath could have won that game by even more. In all honesty, and then Louth as well. Like we know the progress that they've made from Mickey Hart to Jared Brennan, with solid players like Samuel Roy, Craig Lennon, Connor Grimes. They've made incredible progress over the last couple of years. So maybe it is fitting that it is one of these two that will be the side that ends the reign in Leinster, because they absolutely have had the best 2 seasons out of any Leinster counties, in my opinion, this year. Anyway.
Oh, they certainly have. Meath, since Robbie Brennan came in, like it was that first week that they played against Cork, where even though they lost, they got a ton of shots off. You could tell that they were doing the right things, moving in the right direction. Robbie Brennan coming in off the back of all the success he had with Kilmacud Crokes, you knew that he wasn't going to accept the way that Meath had been rolling over for Dublin in the last few years. You knew that Meath were going to give Dublin a good rattle under Robbie Brennan. And I didn't think that Meath were going to beat Dublin this year, but I thought that they'd give us a much better rattle than in previous years, especially last year, which was a really, really bad showing from them. Louth, on the other hand, it's been such a journey for them, like starting off in Division 4, back-to-back promotions up to Division 2 under Mickey Hart. Then Mickey Hart leaves. Jared Brennan steps in, his first senior inter-county manager job, and smashes it. He's done
Mm.
absolutely fantastic for Louth. He's kept up the good work. And when you look at the factory line that they've got now, they've just recently won the Leinster Under 20 Football Championship, beating Meath, maybe a bit of foreshadowing, in that final, and proving now that they have a factory line of superb young footballers coming through to back up this senior squad that they have. So this Louth team isn't a flash in the pan. It's not a team that's going to go away. This Louth
Mm.
success is here to stay. And this Leinster Championship, should they win it, should they get over the line, could signal a bit of a golden age for Louth, where they really, really push the boundaries and really, really push up through the gears. and past what anybody thought they would have been capable of 10 years ago. For me, they have such heritage of being a county that should be up there, winning Leinster titles, winning All Ireland titles. A lot of people who are watching the GAA today would have grown up on the tail end of Meath winning it in '99, Meath winning it in Meath winning it in '99, winning Leinster titles in 2001, winning Leinster titles in 2010. Controversial as it was, but Meath are supposed to be in most people's heads up there at the top table. So to see them struggle for the last decade was bewildering, especially when we seen the talent and the teams that they had coming through at minor level, at under 20 level, and the success that they had. But all of a sudden, the penny dropped this year. Robbie Brennan comes in, all of a sudden they're clicking. They could have got promoted. They fell too loud on that final round, and that proved a very costly defeat. But the way that they won the opening game in Leinster, and then the way that they tore into Dublin in that first half, tore into them in that first half, and built up a healthy enough lead that they could withstand then the inevitable Dublin backlash was hugely impressive, hugely significant for the Leinster Championship. That victory has breathed life back into the Leinster Championship because it was a competition that people had lost interest in because it was so over before it ever began. And
Mm.
now we're heading into a Leinster final where God knows what's going to happen. These two teams are so evenly matched. Even though Meath beat Louth, does not guarantee in any way, shape, or form that they're going to win this final.
Mm.
Louth beat Meath on the final day of the league when Meath could have got promotion if they had won that game. So Louth will go toe to toe with Meath. It's going to be a 50-50 battle. I mean, who knows who's going to come out on the right side of it? My head points towards obviously Meath beating Dublin, but Louth, you cannot ignore what they have done, and what an achievement! And that's where my heart is coming into this. I'd love to see them do it. For what happened in
Mm.
2010, for that farce where they were absolutely robbed and robbed in plain daylight, I would
Mm.
love to see them get over the line. 1957, we're saying, is the last time they won the Leinster Championship. Could you imagine how much it would mean to Louth fans who were alive to see Louth win that Leinster title in 1957? How much it would mean to them to see them do it again in 2025?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely nothing short of remarkable in fairness. And yeah, like as you said, like both teams have a number of very good young players, to be fair. Both have had underage success. Obviously, Meath have had success with the minors. Louth have, especially their under 20s in recent seasons, have obviously seen a massive rise there as well. And both have had huge sort of kind of growth in terms of great appointments and facilities improving and everything else. And I think it's great to see sort of for both of these two counties. Dean does say here Dublin 1-7, Louth 1-8. Louth minor game at the moment, lads. You're missing a good game. Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, could be another Dublin underage team losing to Louth there by the looks of it. But Brian says midfield battle will be key to deciding who wins the Leinster final. Absolutely. Gavin says, I think Meath outsmart Dublin with the win and 2 pointers and pushing out on kickouts. I don't know if they will be able to take the same advantage in Croke Park. And Brian says we're going to have two very close games. Louth have beaten Meath last year in the group phase and this year in the league. Yeah, like Louth do seem to have the better of Meath, especially when you're looking at, I know Meath did have a win over Louth in the league last season. And obviously this season it was Louth who got the better of Meath. And it does seem that Louth maybe are a little bit more, like I was kind of thinking coming into this, I think Meath absolutely have the talent to win this game and to potentially blow Louth away. But I think Louth have more players who've sort of been there and done it a bit longer. Ger Brennan's been there a bit longer. These group of players have obviously been here. There's a lot of Meath lads who obviously would have played in Croke Park in the Tailteann Cup final and everything else. But this is something different. And especially when you have a player like Samuel Roy in their ranks as well, who without question, I mean, how many 2-pointers is he going to kick this weekend? Do you know what I mean? And he, especially from frees as well, like he's going to be such an ace in the pack. I know Meath have plenty of players who can kick 2-pointers as well, but I think for having him, he might just be the difference.
He could well be, and like that, you hit the nail on the head there with his free taking ability. Any free kick that Meath concede outside of that 40-meter arc, if it's anywhere close to within shooting distance, Mulroy is just about as good as anybody in the country that you would want to be standing over that ball. So Meath's discipline is going to have to be perfect in this game. And Louth pose a much, I have no problem saying this, Louth pose a much bigger 2 point risk from frees to Meath than Dublin do. So
Mm.
Meath are going to have to be very, very disciplined with the tackling that they put in, especially around that 40 metre arc. Mulroy will punish them more often than not. And you made a great point there when you were talking about Meath's performance against Dublin, but then the fact that we've also seen them stumble at stages throughout the year. I think Meath's ceiling is a little bit higher than Louth's in terms of the level that they're capable of reaching, but I
Yeah.
think Louth are more consistent. I really think Louth are more consistent. You talk about players that they have like Mulroy. Like, when do you see Sam Mulroy have a bad game? When do you see him be quiet? When do you see Conor Grimes have a bad game? When do you see him be quiet? And the other thing as well is players like Mulroy, Craig Lennon returning against Kildare, and their impact is just unquestionable. And like, the more I think about this, I'm like, I think if both teams turn up 10 out of 10, I think Meath probably shade it. However, the example that is ringing clear in my head is when Cork beat Kerry in 2020 and lost to Tip in the final, because Tip turned up sharper on the day than Cork did. This game doesn't matter what you did, doesn't matter that Meath beat Dublin. This is a once-off standoff game, and in the league, Meath beat Roscommon.
Mm.
They beat a team that had got promoted. They had as much of a right as anyone to get up, to go up, but they lost in a game that their league form would have suggested that they should have won.
Mm.
So for this game, you put everything aside. Again, it's really, really, really hard to call. My head kind of says Meath, my heart says Louth. I don't know if you're somewhat in the same position.
Yeah, like I think I do agree with you. I think Meath have another level to go up on, and I think they could really dominate Loud, especially around the middle, especially on kickouts as well. I think Loud have a bit more physicality, especially in attack, and I think they've better, more experienced sharpshooters. I think that could step up in big moments. A part of me also wonders as well. Like, I think with Meath, they're, like as you said, whilst they did beat Dublin and they were unbelievable, they're not. I think Loud, you know a bit more what you're going to get with Loud. Like, if
Hmm.
Meath fall 7 6 7 points down, like, how will Meath react to that? I know they reacted very well, obviously, against Offaly, but it's a different team, in
Hmm.
my opinion, between Loud and Offaly. I don't think Loud will make the same mistakes that Offaly made in that particular game. Whereas if Loud fall 6 7 8 points behind Meath, I could still see Loud not losing their heads. Do you know what I mean? And keeping
Yeah.
themselves kind of in the game. So it will be interesting to see how Meath deal with it as well. And obviously, with the fact that, it has been very well pointed out in history before that when you take out a big team or a champion or something like that, in a semi final, you've then got that other final. Then you've got the final still to play, and people reference Tipperary in 2020, who beat Cork when Cork had beaten Kerry. You could look back at the All Ireland Hurling Championship last year where Cork beat Limerick, but then Clare were the ones actually to beat Cork. So, like,
Hmm.
for me, it would have been the most incredible achievement in the world, and I'm sure there would have been some celebrations and everything else. But it's not. It's not done, and Louth are going to absolutely be waiting in the long grass, in my opinion.
Oh, for sure. And then another good example of that actually is Sligo losing to Roscommon in 2010 after they'd beaten
Mm.
Mayo in the quarter final. They beaten Galway in the semi final. They went into that kind of final. I think they went in only thinking that they had to turn up to take the cup, and Roscommon were there, and Downey Shine, as we all remember, put in a performance for the ages, and the Rossies beat them. So this, like, forget everything that you did. And I've no doubt Robbie Brennan will be emphasising that to the Mead boys. Like, forget everything you did. None of that matters. None of that matters. Nobody's going to give you a trophy because you beat Dublin. Like, it was a
Mm.
great victory, great result for Meath, great result for the Leinster Championship as a whole. But it's over now. You're not going to get the
Mm.
trophy for that. And going into this final, God, it's going to be so hard to call. I think the key for this game is going to be the midfield battle, because both sides, in my opinion, are so strong around the middle. Louth with Tommy Dernan, Conor Grimes, like, they're superbly strong around the midfield. Whereas Meath have so many options, like Brian Menton, Conor Gray, like they have superb options around that midfield. Who gets dominance around the midfield will be able to set up more scores for their attack. more scoring opportunities for their attack. For Meath as well, I don't necessarily know. Can Meath get more ball into the hands of the likes of Owen Frayne than Louth can get ball into the hands of the likes of Sam Mulroy. And
Mm.
whoever wins the midfield battle will be able to quell the amount of ball that Meath or Louth can get into their key players' hands. And again, the form of them. I probably would slightly agree with Dean. I do think Louth are stronger around the middle. That being said, Meath's
Mm.
dominance on Dublin's kickouts did take me by surprise. It was kind of one of those things that in hindsight, I was like, yeah, Meath probably do actually have a stronger midfield than Dublin. But still to see how dominant they were on Dublin's kickouts really, really took me aback. And that set up their base in that first half to build up such a huge lead by half time. Um, yeah, God, I do think that Louth kind of remind me. You tell me if you think I'm wrong with this. Louth kind of remind me of like Jim McGuinness' first year with Donegal, like his first year and second year. Not saying that necessarily I think they're going to win the All Ireland, but they're built out with a very, very strong defence. They just do the basics well at the back. They have a very big, powerful midfielder there, like Tommy Dern, who reminds me a lot of Neil Gallagher. And then up
Mm.
front, Sam Mulroy is kind of like their Michael Murphy. Like he's everywhere, but he's
Mm.
also their scorer in chief. They are just very well drilled. They do the basics really well, and they're very, very, very consistent and dedicated to the task at hand. They're not flash. They don't try and go for the wonder scores. They keep it very simple and they do the simple things well. That means that they're more consistent than Meath. That means that I expect them to turn up more close to their full potential than Meath. Meath are very much a flair team. I would say if they get their momentum up, they're very hard to stop and they have superb players. I think Louth are a little bit more, you know what you're getting from them.
Mm.
I'd lo- I'd love to see Louth win, and I'm trying to not let that affect my prediction because I
Yeah.
can see the damage that Meath can do to this Louth team, the goal threat that they have from the likes of Matthew Costello, the point scoring ability of the likes of Owen Frayne, the superb performances that we've seen throughout the league and championship from the likes of Jack Flynn, from like it's
Actually,
really
Matt
hard.
Costello as well has been phenomenal.
Yeah,
He was unbelievable against Dublin.
yeah. My God, we're even new enough players on the scene like Rory Kinsella and all. Like me, they've really, really, really shot out the traps this year and just done everything well with the new rules. Apart from that slip up against Louth, that was the only performance where they were flat. And looking into how those two members of the backroom team, Corey and McMahon, how they left very soon after, you wondered, was that a distraction on the day, and was that a reason for why their performance was sloppy that day? And since then, they haven't put a foot wrong. So the evidence points to, well, it definitely did have an impact on them.
Mm.
Again, heart says Louth, head says Meath. Don't know what you're thinking.
I think Loud will do it. To be honest with you, I just think they can
I'm
do it.
going with
Like,
my heart, by the way. Yeah, I'm going with my heart. I think
yeah,
Louth will do it.
yeah. Like and it's not just my heart that would say it. To be honest with you, look. I just don't think Mead will be able to produce the same level of performance. Now, watch these words haunt me back as the comment didn't come up there, but Gavin was talking about people clipping up TikToks and everything else. I mean, it's all a bit of fun and games. It's all good, but no, look, I just don't think Mead will produce the same level of performance that they did against Dublin. I don't think they'll get up to that to those heights. I think with your Brennan and Loud, with them having been here before in the Leinster finals, having key players who can step up and deliver in these big moments, I think they'll just about edge it, in my opinion. I think they'll just about have enough to come over the line and win the game. But yeah, we will obviously see what happens in regards to that. James Smith says here, Kieran Burns' fitness, major swing for Loud. And Tom says both Loud and Armagh are in arc of Armagh. Let's hope it's a double. I actually don't know what that means, to be honest with you. But
I have no
yeah,
idea. But I was
yeah.
gonna say there are two dubs predicting Meath will lose. Who would have thought it?
Yeah, absolutely. Mikey says Loud could put this game out of Meath's reach in the first half if they don't have a big enough lead by half time. I expect Meath to reel them in towards the end. It's
It's gonna
hugely
go down to the
exciting.
wire. That's for sure. It's going to go down to the wire. Either way, it's going to be a finish that will have your heart in trouble. Because
Mm.
how much it means to Louth and how much it means to me to get over the line and finally win another Leinster title, and how evenly matched both teams are. Like, yes, we've been saying that Louth beat Meath in the championship last season, Meath beat Louth in the league that season, Louth beat Meath in the league this season, but none of those wins were wins that were dead and buried and kind of where the teams, cruise to the finish line. I'd say in the league this year was as close to that when Louth beat me, but every other game has had you on the edge of your seat going down the home stretch, especially the 2010 Leinster final. And I think going down the home stretch, whoever wins will win by the slimmest margin.
Yeah, absolutely. There was another comment here just in relation to Joe Sheridan. I don't know where the comments gone there, but Justin, Brian was saying here, hope Martin Sludden and Joe Sheridan have their phones switched off. Do you know what? I think Martin Sludden, he might be in Tenerife or something like that, maybe on a yacht or something with a pina colada or something of that nature,
Yeah,
just absolutely chilling. But if someone doesn't get Joe Sheridan in the panel or in an interview or something like that this week, someone's
it's
missing.
lost out. Yeah.
I wouldn't blame him also for just wanting absolutely nothing to do with it, but
I was
yeah,
saying he should like WWE back in the day where it's like Stone Cold Steve Austin, like if Louth are winning by 2 points with 5 minutes to go, Joe Sheridan should like punch through the hill 16 or something and like run out.
yeah,
Just imagine.
absolutely. Yeah, no, look, it's gonna be a cracking game. In fairness, we're both going with Louth wins there, but do let us know your thoughts in the comments down below. And Dean actually says here, Louth for 3 in Leinster this year's 18s, 20 seniors. That would be incredible, to be fair, and it really would typify the great work that's been done over Louth over the last 5, 6, 7 years, in fairness. And that would be an incredible achievement from their point of view. Moving on to the Ulster final, then we've got Armagh versus Donegal. Two teams who know each other equally as well, obviously, since the Ulster final last season, where Donegal won via penalties. Armagh, as we know, have a bit of a long way for an Ulster title, obviously, themselves, given obviously how some of the last couple of finals have gone. In terms of this game and in terms of Armagh Donegal, they are two sides who obviously know each other very, very well. So how do you think this one might play out?
Yeah, God, I was even just thinking there, like if we thought the Louth and Meath one was hard to call, like
Yeah.
this is another level of that. Like these two sides are as evenly matched as it gets. And interestingly enough, when the two were qualified for the Ulster final, I remember thinking to myself, like, I wouldn't be surprised if this year turns out completely the opposite of last year, where Armagh win Ulster and Donegal go on to win the All Ireland. Like that would not surprise me at all. Donegal are absolutely good enough to kick on and win the All Ireland. Armagh did it last year, but the Ulster Championship is the final piece of the puzzle for Kieran McGeeney as manager, and I think it's one of the primary reasons that he's still here. He's got unfinished business with this championship, and they will want it more than anything to get over the line. Like Ulster Championship success is just as respected in the province of Ulster than All Ireland success. Like
Mm.
it really, really is a badge of honour for these players on a level that I think is uncomparable in football. It's such a fiercely contested province. Every champion finds it extremely hard to go back to back. That's why Derry doing it a couple of years ago was such a huge achievement. And if Donegal can pull it off under Jim McGuinness the second time for him, then that he would have gone back to back in the province. It's an insane achievement. But it is going to be as close as you can possibly get. You won't have room to turn a sweet in your mouth in this game, as Pat Spillane would said on the Sunday game. Like it's going to be as tight gets. They're so evenly matched. Like you look at the contest that they've had over the last few years, especially going to penalties in last year's Ulster final. It has extra time written all over it, but I don't think this one, surely not again, will go to penalties. I think this gets finished in extra time, and whoever wins by a point or two.
Yeah, no, I agree as well. And I think the thing is as well with Armagh is that obviously since having gotten over the line in the All Ireland final last year and obviously having done what they done versus Tyrone, like they feel like a team now I feel like last year again in the final against Donegal, and I watched the highlights back the other day, and it felt like they kind of psyched themselves out a little bit. It was almost like they beat themselves. Like they were in a fantastic position to win that final, and there was almost like a bit of a fear about Armagh, maybe because they were too worried about losing, maybe rather than actually going and winning. But I feel like since winning that All Ireland, and you saw it in the game versus Tyrone as well, where the game was there to be won, and they went and done it. You know, they got over the line. Stephen Campbell kicking big points. You've got players like Rory Grugan obviously stepping up as well. And bear in mind, they're doing this all without Rian O'Neill as well, which is kind of incredible to think. But it just feels like Armagh, like especially in those big moments, have really kind of stepped up to that level. Look, Donegal as well, to be fair, have so many big game players. And that's what does actually make this so hard to call, to be fair.
It's just like when it comes to being a close game to call, this one just takes the bait. Like this one is just ridiculously hard to call. They're so evenly matched, both Armagh and Donegal. And look, if I was going to pick Donegal to win, I would point to Rian O'Neill being missing. I would point to Jim McGuinness's record in Ulster. He's only lost one game ever in the province, and that was to Monaghan way back in 2013. His record in Ulster is phenomenal. And in his first term, he went back to back. He's on the brink of going back to back again in this one. However, from an Armagh perspective, you look at this time last year when they lost the Ulster final to Donegal, they lost it on penalties, and the narrative was kind of changing on them. People weren't really going with the, oh, aren't Armagh so unlucky, sorry. People were starting to actually go, they didn't close out the game. They should have closed out the game. Armagh struggle at closing out games. That was the narrative at the time. And just over the course of two games, the All Ireland semi final and the All Ireland final, Armagh closed out two of the most important games in all of those players' lives. They closed out a super close semi final against Kerry, and they closed out a razor close game against Galway in that All Ireland final. And the confidence that that would have given them is incomparable. You cannot buy that confidence that Armagh got from closing out those games. And in my opinion, you saw that with proof with your own eyes against Tyrone in that Ulster semi-final. When that game went down to the wire, Armagh found a way to win in a game that maybe in the past they would have found a way to lose. Their confidence that they gained from getting over the line in the semi-final last year, getting over the line in the All-Ireland final last year, I think that's given them a level of confidence in their ability that is just something that you can't buy. Donegal, their unfinished business is not with the Ulster Championship. Their unfinished business is with the All Ireland. Armagh's unfinished business is with the Ulster title. And in a game like this, where both teams are as evenly matched as they are, where one score is always pretty much the max that separates them, penalty kicks is what separated them last time they played in the Championship. When a game is that close, you do look to the millimetres. And I think the hurt that Armagh have experienced in falling short in two penalty shootouts in Ulster finals, I think that hurt and that unfinished business that they have with the Ulster Championship will be enough to just get them over the line.
Yeah, I think so. Like, I think with Armagh as well, like physically as well, I think they've improved so much over the last couple of years, and I think they can have the ability, especially to outmuscle at Donegal. Like we know as well, probably the vast majority of the supporters are going to be Armagh fans as well, because that's just how Armagh roll. They do tend to get the lion's share, and that's not to take anything away from Donegal. There'll be plenty of big supporters in there from a Donegal perspective as well. Gavin does say here, I think with the new rules and the hooter and different kinds of scores, penalties are really unlikely, luckily for Armagh. And Brian says here, Donegal and their bench is very impressive. They have the depth in the squad who can come off the bench and make an impact. And Brian says I'd have to take Donegal by the smallest of margins. It is so close to call, but look, I would back Armagh as well, to be honest with you, to get over the line. I think they do have enough. But just on the bench as well, like we saw how much Armagh's bench made a huge impact with the likes of Stephen Campbell coming on and bringing Connor Turba on and these kind of players. We saw Donegal obviously have big players coming off the bench as well. How big of an impact do you think that maybe might be? Because look, maybe penalties mightn't happen, but extra time absolutely could happen. Like I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility.
Oh, it's very, very much within the realms of possibility. I think that extra time is written all over this game. I think it's going to be going down the home stretch level, and maybe someone will get a winner, or Maybe we won't, and we'll be going into extra time. But this will not be a cakewalk for either teams, and both of them know that. Armagh's bench impact is crucial. It was crucial to their All-Ireland success last year. It's crucial to their potential successes this season. Stephen Campbell's impact when he comes off the bench is absolutely superb. I mean, last season the guy was being talked as a potential all-star, and he wasn't even starting games for Armagh. Like, he was coming off the bench and having such a huge impact that he was being put in the consideration to win an all-star, which probably would have been the first player to win an all-star who didn't start the majority of the games in the championship. Like, he was just, his impact was unbelievable, and he had a big part to play, obviously, in that goal. He hadn't passed it across for Aaron McKay to palm it home to the net against Galway, and that proved to be the crucial score. So, again, this season, we're seeing his impact throughout the Ulster Championship. He had a big impact when he came on against Tyrone. And there are other players that Armagh bring on from time to time, like the Ross McQuillans when he doesn't start. Like Oisin O'Neill when he doesn't start always has a big impact off the bench. Armagh do tend to rotate some of their subs into starters, but Soupy Campbell is always one that always comes off the bench at a key part of the game, and just his energy, his athleticism, his pace is electric. The way he runs directly at defences does remind me a lot of Kevin McMenamin. Like,
Hmm.
just not without the immediate going for goal threat, but Campbell runs at defenders. He doesn't try run around them. He runs at them the same way Kev Mack would have, and that opens up the space for players like Conor Turbot, for players like Rory Grugan going down the home stretch, and his impact in this Ulster final will be huge. For Donegal, they've had massive impacts off the bench as well. I think whichever way McGuinness goes about it will decide who is the impactful players off the bench. Like, he's brought off the bench this season for Donegal. He's brought in the championship, by the way. Donegal have brought off the bench Oisin Gallen, Jamie Brennan. Like, these players would walk into most teams in the country, but for Donegal, their squad is so stacked that they actually don't need to start these players. They can bring them in off the bench and let them make their impact that way. So the bench impacts will be huge. Whichever way McGeaney and McGuinness choose to go, this game is not a 15-man game. This is a 20-man game.
Hmm. Yeah, like it's going to be a cracking game. And look, if it does go to penalties and it does go to distance, it's going to be absolutely crazy to see it happen. I mean, look, to be fair, like we said that last year, like we were saying, oh, if it goes to penalties and everything else, and then it did. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I mean, there's been so many penalty shootouts now. I can't even. What was it? 4 penalty shootouts Armagh lost.
4, yeah. 4,
Yeah, like
yeah.
that's just mental. Like, that's absolutely crazy. To be fair, they have won an All Ireland since, so maybe that might kind of soften the blow with that over the last few seasons. But yeah, we're both going with Armagh to win by the smallest of margins there. Just one game in the hurling this weekend: Clare versus Tipperary, taking place in the Munster Senior Hurling Championship. Feels like do or die really for Clare. If they lose this, I think that's them done and dusted, really, because 1 point after 3 games, especially with Limerick, with the Gaelic grounds as well. And I'm not even too sure if a win would even be enough to actually get Clare into the top 3. So really do or die. And maybe for Tipperary to a certain extent as well. I mean, they'd only have a point after 3 games as well. So feels a bit like a knockout game this weekend.
No, this is like already back to the wall for both of them. And I'm expecting a lot from Clare, because Clare, time and time again throughout the championship over the last few years, have come out swinging whenever their backs have been against the wall. And they lost to Waterford in a game where they showed everything that we know they're capable of in that second half against Cork when they roared back into the contest. So how flat they were against Waterford didn't make any sense. Like, don't get me wrong, Waterford are a superb team. They showed that against Limerick as well when they pushed them to a really, really fantastic game. But going into this one now, it's do or die for both of these teams, I would say. I think if Tip lose this one as well, I also think Tip are in massive trouble, because they still have to play against Cork and they still have to play against Waterford. But you can spin that for anyone. Like, this Munster Championship is just ridiculous. Um, but I do think for Tip, I don't. Sorry, they've already played Cork. Sorry, Tip. But yeah, I know what I'm on about. But Tip have already lost to Cork, so their backs are firmly against the wall. Tip also have to go up against Waterford, Clare. Yes, have to play Limerick. So if you lose this, you're in gigantic trouble. It's in Clare's backyard. Therefore, going up on everything that we've seen from them over the last few years. Whenever their backs have been against the wall, they seem to come out swinging. I think it all depends massively, though, on the fitness of some of their key stars. Tony Kelly
Mm.
wasn't there against Waterford. Shane O'Donnell wasn't there, and he definitely isn't fully fit. If Tony Kelly and Shane O'Donnell both are still out for this game, I think they're in massive, massive trouble.
Yeah, like, cause it is mad to think, like, the fee for Clare, and that's them done, really. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that is them finished, and I don't have the table up in front of me to see it being mathematically possible if they are actually done and dusted, but it would feel like it would be, to be honest with you. I don't think 3 points will be near enough, you know, if they beat that, and that's provided they even beat Limerick, which they couldn't do. So, you know, all the sort of doubters that have been speaking about Clare, obviously, over the last sort of you know, probably since the league finished, and saying, you know, that bad champions and everything else, and sort of the criticism that have gone the way of Clare. And, you know, I'm sure it would have been killing Clare inside to have seen them lost to Waterford after getting so much stick from Cork supporters, like, following on from the Cork game. But, like, they have to step up here, and they have to show their mettle and show what they're made of. Look, winning back-to-back All-Irelands, I think, is unrealistic. Winning a Munster final, you know, but for Clare, in my opinion, they're more than good enough. They're more than able to win this game, and now it's about stepping up, and really showing their mettle.
Well, they won't like me saying this, but they do need to take inspiration from what Cork did last year in terms of keeping themselves alive. The two teams that Cork beat last year to keep themselves alive were Limerick and Tipperary. And
Yeah.
Clare now have Tip and Limerick standing in their way of potential survival, which looks very, very unlikely at this stage. Anyway, they need to get the job done in these two games, and then they also need to hope that results go their way. Like, that's how close they are to the drop. So in this game, their squad depth needs to come to the fore, because even if the likes of Tony Kelly play, he won't be at 100% fitness. They need other players like Aidan McCarthy, Peter Duggan again, he was superb, especially in the Cork game. They need those players to step up, step to the fore, lead from the front, because Tony definitely is not going to be at 100%. He's not going to be able to produce the magic that we all expect from Tony every time he goes out on the pitch. He will be able, if he does play, to do the bits that he does pretty much every game in terms of supplying 3 or 4 points. But I don't expect him to produce a man of the match heroic performance again in this one. So Clare need everybody to pick up a shovel and dig themselves, out of this. Because the reality is, Tip, weirdly enough, I was looking at this year thinking the Tip would actually be able to pip Clare into third place. But then as the championship began and I saw the way that Clare battled back from beating Cork, I did change my mind on it, and I did say actually Clare will probably get third place, and I think Cork and Limerick will go into the Munster final. So this game, ironically enough, tells me, was I right initially, or was I right when I made my change after the first week? Definitely wasn't confident when Clare went and lost to Waterford. But for Tip, I always looked at them throughout the league as they're a team in transition. They're trying to strike the balance between the Darren McCarthy's, the Dara Stakelums, the Oisin O'Donoghue's, that era, and then the Ronan Mars, the John McGraths, the Noel McGraths, and the players that are still left from their All Ireland successes nearly a decade ago in 2016, and then the one subsequently in 2019. They're trying to strike that balance correct. And Liam Cahill certainly is a good man to have at the wheel, but I don't think that this is Tipperary's year. I think Tipperary's year is going to come 2 or 3 years down the line. Whereas Clare had their year last year. For Clare, it would be very disappointing to go out in Munster. The fact that it's in Cusack Park, Ennis, and their back is against the wall, I tip Clare to get over the line.
Yeah, I fancy them as well to step up. Look, I agree with you as well. Tipperary have a lot of good young players coming in. It wouldn't entirely surprise me if they did get over the line. It's definitely a game they'll feel that they can win as well. But I do agree with you as well. I think Clare have to step up, have to turn up, and to be fair, I think that they will. Dean says here, Loud giving Dublin a hiding in the minor semi tonight, 2-17 to 1-8. Yeah, I think on that note, that's a good note to end the podcast. My affiliation with a Loud Colours, I think I might need to throw this away now, to be honest with you. But anyway, cheers anyone who tuned in. Hit the like button and subscribe. Make sure to check out Seamus's podcast when you get a chance as well. And yeah, we will drop a Tailteann Cup predictions video possibly on Friday or Saturday. We'll see what happens. But until the next one, we'll speak to you all soon.